The conventional wisdom of most business schools is, specialize in the area you know best. Do not, go out of that area and spend your life, just tackling one particular area of business. So, by evolving as a company, we've survived. And in a sense, by breaking what the conventional wisdom was, we've survived. But I think it's just, and I also think it's important to realize that you don't have to be able to fly a plane or change the nuts and bolts on the engine to go into the airline business. You don't have to be an expert at the airline business. What you have to be good at is good with people. You have to be very good at finding wonderful people to run your companies. And I think early on I realized that if I could run one company well, I could run any company. It was just up to me to make sure I got the best people to run those companies, and made sure that they were properly incentivized, properly motivated, and given quite a lot of freedom to go ahead and make good things and make mistakes.
Our generation has inherited an incredibly beautiful world from our parents, and they from their parents. And it's really in our hands whether our children and their children inherit the same world. And we must not be the generation responsible for irreversibly damaging the environment. We must hand it over to our children in as near pristine a condition as we were lent it from our parents. And we're very pleased today to be making a commitment to invest 100% of all future proceeds to the Virgin Group from our transportation interests, both our train businesses and our airline businesses, into tackling global warming. Thank you. For an estimated value of $3 billion over the next 10 years.
Weren't you just terrible at school?
I was dyslexic. I had no understanding of schoolwork whatsoever. I certainly would have failed IQ tests. It's one of the reasons I left school when I was 15 years old. And if I'm not interested in something, I don't grasp it. As somebody who's dyslexic, you also have some quite bizarre situations. I mean, for instance, I've had to, I've been running the largest group of private companies in Europe, but haven't been able to know the difference between net and gross. And so the board meetings have been fascinating. And so, is that good news or bad news? And generally people would say, oh, well, that's bad news. But
just to clarify, the $25 billion is gross, right? That's gross.
Well, I hope it's net, actually, having fun. I've got it right.
No, trust me, it's gross.
No, so when I turned 50, somebody took me outside the boardroom and said, "Look, Richard, here's let me draw on a diagram. Here's a net in the sea, and the fish have been pulled from the sea into this net, and that's the profits you've got left over in this little net, and everything else is I finally worked it all out." So.
But I mean, at school, so as well as being, doing pretty miserably academically, but you were also like the captain of the cricket and football team. So you were kind of you're a natural leader, and but just a bit of were you a rebel then, or how would you?
Yeah, I think I was a bit of a maverick, but I was fortunately good at sport, and so that at least I had something to excel at school.